Goedemorgen, welkom allemaal. Ik heb de eer om Matthias even voor te stellen. Zoals in de aankondiging hebben we al aangegeven dat dit webinar in het Engels zal zijn. Dat heeft ook een bepaalde reden. We gaan het hebben over de mogelijkheden die e-stron biedt samen met Siko op het gebied van mobiele automatisering. En dat is een markt die zich op het moment zeer sterk ontwikkelt. En ook op het gebied van reguleringen, certificeringen en dat soort zaken is er behoorlijk wat aan de hand. En Matthias Rood van Siko is Manager Business Unit Mobile Automation en is eigenlijk een autoriteit, mag ik wel zeggen, op het gebied van mobiele automatisering, met certificeringen, maar ook op het gebied van ontwikkelingen van sensoren en producten. Hij stond aan de wieg van de ontwikkeling van de SGH-serie. Daar gaan we straks iets meer van laten zien. Is nauw betrokken bij de ontwikkelingen en de research en heeft met heel veel bedrijven over de hele wereld al contact over deze zaken. Zoals gezegd zal het webinar in Engels zijn en aan het eind mogelijkheid voor vragen. So, Matthias, I will go to English now. I hope you heard a little bit, understood a little bit of Dutch, but the floor is yours now.
So, thank you, Ronald. Thank you, Eric. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to have the chance today to make the webinar, which we call with the topic Mobile Automation 4.0. Today, we don't want to tell you what's a kind of Industry 4.0 or what will be the future of the mobile automation. What we would like to talk with you today is what can we do into that direction already today? Because we at Siko think that we can do much more with already existing sensors, and we can use sensors which we maybe sometimes just use for functional safety, also for some other really good functions, or let's say some more advantages in your machines. So more or less, we would like to talk with you today about how can I get more out of my sensor. So the field of mobile automation is really wide. As you can see here on the screens, that's just a few examples of machines like construction machines or also machines from the crane and lifting industries. That could be something like a mobile crane or also like telehandlers, or that could be also in the agriculture industry. So the field of mobile automation is really wide. And what we definitely can say is that you have a lot of sensors in your mobile machines, and this not only because of some regulations. Sometimes you have it all already since, let's say, decades, because at some of that point it makes sense. At some of that point you maybe have to use it because of some international standards. And we at Siko have a lot of projects in the past where we saw that we can use the existing systems, the existing sensors, make it a little bit more flexible, or let's say make it a little bit more intelligent, and generate through that sometimes completely new functions, but all the times some really big benefits for your end customers. So at the beginning, I just want to say a few words about Siko and mobile automation. Siko and mobile automation, that means a wide range of sensor solutions. Just to give you a little bit of feeling, when we're talking about sensor solutions, we're talking all the time about positioning sensors, because this is where Siko is coming from. This is what we're doing over the last 50 years, and this is what we are doing in the mobile automation since over 30 years. So which kind of sensors do we have in that area? We have our wire-actuated sensors, a typical kind of sensor in the mobile business for linear measurement. We have our rotary encoders, absolute or incremental solutions in that. We have for sure also inclination sensors in our product range. We have in-cylinder precision measurement, which we call the SGH product line. So that's the worldwide first wire-actuated encoder, which you also can use directly integrated into hydraulic cylinders. And we have what we call the MAC line. That's a magnetic position sensor system, which we can use rotative or in a linear way. The biggest benefit there is you have two components. You have a magnetic ring or a magnetic tape and the contactless sensors. All All of these sensor solutions are all the time available at Siko in a standard version, but also in a functional safety versions. So that's just to give you a little bit of overview what we meaning with sensors in mobile machines. So our focus is with 100% on position sensors. So that means Siko for us, or we say that Siko is the right partner if you need on a mobile machine a sensor for rotary measurement, for linear measurement, for speed, or for inclination measurement. And these are the sensors which I would like to talk with you today about how we can get more out of these sensors and how we can use sometimes some international standards like the safety standards in Europe to generate a benefit for your end customers in the machine. So more functions out of the same sensors. How can that be possible? In our PURE.MOBILE Sensor Platform, that's our major sensor platform, which we use to develop products or to develop position sensors for mobile machines. There we have three major topics, which we use when we say we would like to get more functions out of the same sensors. And these are the three major topics which I would like to show you today. First one is functional safety. Can functional safety be a benefit for the function of your machine, or is it just a safety thing? The next topic will be intelligent sensor functions. In that case, get more out of your smart cylinders. So that means there we will make an example how an intelligent sensor function in an existing system can get you really a benefit, or let's say add more flexibilities or add more functions into your machines. And then last but not least, we also have a flexible function extension of existing sensors. And this is a specific thing of our PURE.MOBILE product range. This will be the last point of the presentation today, where we show you some great sensors from us, where we add a lot of functionality and flexibility. So what can we say? The major thing which we can say is the sensor is already there and collecting data. So that means if you have in your system already a position sensor or also pressure sensors maybe or something like that, there are some sensors which collecting data. And the most of the time they just been used to collecting the data, sometimes just because of functional safety standards. But we say the data is already there, so let's use them to our advantage. So let's generate with that data which we already have there, so with the existing sensors in the machines, and generate some new functions which your end customer have as a really big benefit. So let's step in the first point. Functional safety as a benefit. Since 2006, when in the European Union the functional safety standards came up, the most of the people which we talk with all of that safety standards, for sure, the 13849, which is maybe the most important one, but also that C norms like the EN 13000, the 12999 or something like that. So the norms for the specific machines. The most of the people at the beginning or also today sometimes tell us the same things. I have to do it because it's the international standard. I have more work to do it, more things to read. Okay, for sure, it makes the system or the machine safe. Yeah, that's the point. So we have to do it, especially in the European Union, but also, for example, in the United States. But what we can say is our sensors provide process data, which are not only to meet the safety requirements. For sure, if you have a safety sensor in your system, then the major topic there is to fulfill the requirements. But these kind of sensors collecting data all the time. So in that case, we can say, okay, why should we not use the same existing sensor to read out more information and build an application around that? Because to just make an example, a CanOpen Safety device transmit beside the safety relevant objects also some, let's say, standard process data. And this standard process data, we can fill that with everything what we need. For example, if we have already an existing sensor in our hydraulic systems, and our sensors, for example, could also measuring the temperatures, which is not safety relevant, but it could be helpful to monitoring your system or to monitoring, let's say, the health status of the hydraulic system. In that case, that could be a really big benefit. So that means beside the safety functions, we also can use that process data which are already there. So let's make a short example for that. Functional safety as a benefit. How did we realize it? I want to make an easy kind of example for that, because this is a typically kind of application which we realized with a lot of our customers in the past. So when we talk about a mobile crane often have nowadays, especially if we use it inside of city areas, have the problem that the outrigger systems, which we see here on the picture, sometimes cannot be extended to the full range because there could be a road or there could be another kind of building on the side or something like that. So we are limited. In the past, when we had that typically outrigger system, which I have to move out to certain levels, for example, 25 or 50% or 100% of the maximum range, in that case, I have to move out our outriggers in both directions with the same kind of level. For sure, there is a safety standard for that. In the European Union, we're talking there about the EN 13000 for mobile cranes. But also if we're looking into the United States, for example, with the ANSI 2920, which is there for so-called mobile elevating working platforms, so aerial platforms, aerial ladders, or lifting platforms, there's also a safety standard for that, which define the function of an outrigger system. So that means we have an outrigger monitoring system. In that safety standards, there is a need that you have to measure the extension of your outrigger system. So that means we have to do it because we have to fulfill it. We can do that with several kind of solutions. In our area, for example, we mainly use our external or in-cylinder integrated wire actuator sensor to fulfill it, because that outrigger monitoring system is a part of the load limitation system. So there is a required performance level which we have to fulfill, which is in that case a performance level D. But what did we do with the customers? We said, okay, we now have the exact position over our wire actuated encoder, so we know exactly from millimeter steps how far we extend our outrigger systems. So in that case, our customer starts to develop their own application with the process data too. For sure, they use the measuring system or the position to calculate the load limitation system to fulfill the requirements of the international standards. But what our customer also did is we realized a new function, a benefit for the customer. And this is what our customer calls a variable support base. And this looks like we see now on the picture. That means in that case, this kind of crane only extends the right outrigger systems to nearly 100%, and the left one are completely in. And with that position in informations which the PLC collect over our position sensors, there they make an automatic load chart, and in that case the system itself knows, okay, if my right outriggers are completely out and my left not, in that case I can nearly fully extend my boom system and load the maximum load in that direction, but not in the other direction. So that means the system itself knows exactly how many weight he can put up when only the right outriggers are extended. And this not only in that levels, which we talked at the beginning about. So for example, that I just can move it out 25 or 50%, and then I have different load charts. No, they really do it with centimeter steps. So it's a really big benefit, because through this kind of system, the load capacity of the crane was really extending. So that means in that case, that's just a really easy example where we can say we have to use a position sensors in that case, for example, to fulfill the requirements of the functional safety or to fulfill the requirements of that international standards. But we build an application around to add a benefit for our customers. So that's just an easy example how sometimes functional, or let's say the sensors which I have to use to fulfill it, also can generate a benefit for the end users. Let's talk about intelligent sensor functions. We call, when we put a sensor into hydraulic cylinders, then we call them smart cylinders. Let's make an example in that case, for example, with a concrete pump. We have an in-cylinder position measurement system, which we call the SGH product line. That's the worldwide first wire-actuated encoder system, which you can use integrated into a hydraulic cylinder. So what is the function of that system, or what is the function of the sensor itself? we measuring the position and the speed of a hydraulic cylinders. So that means with that two information, we can control the movements. We exactly know where the cylinder or where the stroke is. So that means we know the position of the cylinder. That could be necessary in that kind of system also for safety reasons, because, for example, we use that kind of sensors in the outrigger system or for the boom system or whatever else. But what we developed especially for this kind of sensors is what we call an intelligent sensor function. So we know we already have a position sensor inside, and we know that these position sensors can detect the position and the speed. So we thought, okay, what could we add in addition into the sensor to make or to create some new functions? So we created two functions. We integrated the counting of the stroke travel distance. So that means all the time when your stroke is moving, we already collect that position, and then we save this kind of movement in a parameter which you can read out. That means that you can control over the whole lifetime of your cylinders how many meters your stroke already traveled. The next point was also that we integrate an operating hour counter. So that means we have now two parameters inside for which we use exactly the same system, but you get more information out of it. So that means you can exactly read out over the CAN bus, for example, how many meters your piston already traveled. So which kind of function could we do with that? We can make a predictive maintenance of the hydraulic cylinder systems. Because, for example, if you say, okay, my ceilings, which I have inside of my hydraulic systems, maybe withstand, let's say, 3 kilometers of travel. Then we can say, okay, let's save in the parameter of the sensor that after 2.9 kilometers of travel, there will be sending automatically a message to the PLC system and tell the operator, hey, you should plan a maintenance for that. So that means we can use an existing sensor just with an intelligent sensor function on top of it to generate a benefit, to generate an predictive maintenance for your hydraulic systems, for the cylinders, or also for piston accumulators or something like that. So this is exactly what I said at the beginning. It's an existing system, but with an additional function. So the last point which I said is a pure mobile sensor platform. Pure mobile sensor platform at Siko, that's a really important topic. That means this is a platform which we developed in 2011, which is the basic for all of our precision sensors. Why is it a basic? Because we say, okay, our sensors are with a 100% focus developed only for mobile machines. This means that we have some specific kind of features like IP protection categories, like high temperature rates, like high EMC ratings, like high shocks and vibration resistance, which have the 100% focus only for applications of mobile business. And this is from our point of view the most important thing, because we say, okay, mobile applications are in more tough conditions as we have, for example, in the machine building industry. So that means that the sensors should also be tough enough for that. Then all of these sensors are also available as a safety version. So that means we have all sensors available also with a performance level D certification. We have an E1 certification, which is a road vehicle certification, which we got from the German Authority for Motor Vehicles. And we also have the wide range of different kind of interface solutions, because we know, okay, for sure you have specific needs. You have different kind of PLC systems, which maybe requires different kind of interfaces. So this is the basic. So that means these have all of our sensors. But why is the pure mobile sensor platforms also a good thing to add more functionality? Therefore, I would like to make an example with our rotary encoders. So what is a rotary encoders? That's quite easy. It's a hollow shaft or a solid shaft version to measuring the position or the speed of a motor or of a swivel or something like that in the mobile machines. We have them, our major points, which I would like to talk today, or the major products are these four, which we see now here on the page. These are on the left side, our two versions, which are non-redundant, and on the right side, we have the functional safety versions. But you see from the outside, they're looking exactly the same. The one have a solid shaft, the other one have a hollow shaft, but they're looking more or less the same. So how can we make a unique functional extension of the rotary encoders? Because for sure we know a basic function of an encoder is easy. We can measuring the position, and we can measuring the speed or the velocity in that case. But what we can do with extension boards, and this is something really a special of our system, we have some extension boards which you can choose in the same encoder. So that means you already have an encoder for example, for functional safety reason or something like that. But we have some extension boards which do not change the product shape. So that means the sensor itself will be the same, but you have the possibilities to add more functions, which is good to make predictive maintenance, which is good to make service, the service and the maintenance easier, and, for example, to use sensor fusions. Why do we do that? Because we think that's for you, it's a benefit that you have an easy functional extension of existing sensors, that you have a higher flexibility, and that you have new possibilities to add greater flexibility. So now I talk a lot of what we could do, but for sure I would like to show you how we do it. We have flexible configurable sensors. That means that the basic is a rotary encoders, and on top of it, we can add some additional PCB boards which add some more functions. So that means that the basic, the ground encoder will not be changed, but you have flexible options where you can add some more intelligence or some more functions inside. And this is what I would like to show you as a last part of this presentation. PURE.MOBILE extension boards. The basic for all is our standard rotary encoder. There you see our main board, which detects the position and the speed. So the encoders, as I said, would be, for example, that 4 different kind of solutions, which we show here up. And then we have some additional extension board, like the IK1 and IK1R. This is an inclination sensors, a 1-axis inclination sensors, which is also safety ready. Or we could add some, what we call dip. That means this is a easy kind of extension board where you have some dip switches on top of it. With that, your service staff could easily do in the field a replacement of the sensors and can set the baud rate and the node address without having programming skills or without a laptop. So that makes the maintenance easier. Or we have also some I/O boards, for example, where you can connect some other sensors and put that information directly on the CAN buses. That's a lot of figures, but I think the best thing is if I show it to you on an example. Let's make an example with our digital I/O card, which we have as the extension board. For example, we have a winch system in a crane. Usually our rotary encoder could be used in that system directly on the side of the winch to measuring the position of the winch and the speed of a winch. Sometimes this is a safety function, sometimes this is just necessary as an additional operator assistance system. And then for sure, we also have some other kind of sensors on it, like proximity switch, like an AND switch or something like that, which is our round of this kind of winch. So the most of the time you have all of these sensors, put them together on an I/O box to get that, let's say, easy on and off informations on your field bus. So what we could do now to save money and time in the installation is quite easy. If we add our extension board digital I/O to our rotary encoder, then you can skip that digital I/O card, or let's say that the digital I/O box, and put these informations of that sensors on our M12 connector, on the second M12 connector, or on the third M12 connector of our rotary encoders, and put that directly over our rotary encoders on the bus line into your PLC. So that means you save that digital I/O box, you save the time for the mounting of the digital I/O box, and overall it's, let's say, a cost saver because the rotary encoder is already there, the housing of the encoder is already there. So we combine the 2 functions to add more flexibility and to save money in your system. Or let's say the dip board, for example. That's an easy example. We have the dip option card. That means if we add that dip option into our rotary encoder, then you also can open the rotary encoder from the back. That means that's an easy maintenance or service option. In that case, your service staff can change the node ID and the baud rate directly in the field with just a screw drive. So that means the service staff do not need a laptop or programming skills. That's maybe let's say a easy thing, but sometimes that could be really a lifesaver, because if you think a crane is maybe standing in Siberia and you just have to open your laptop and have to change the node address, and the stuff needs programming skills for that and so on. So I think that's really a nightmare. How can we make predictive maintenance, for example? Because I think that's really a big topic for the future, and I think that's really a good thing also on our example or on our extension boards. We have the rotary encoder, which is really often used on, for example, motors, or like we see here in the picture, a slew drive. So that means slewing systems for mobile vehicles. In that case, usually our rotary encoder measuring the position of the slew. But what we have added with one of our customers in Germany is we have a new option board, which is in combination with our rotary encoder on that slew drive, a predictive maintenance system. Because what did we add? We added predictive maintenance with a new option board, which have an integrated acceleration and vibration sensors on it. So that means that our sensors now do not only measuring the position, we also measuring the vibration of the system itself. And that means that we can, over these values, give us or allows us conclusions about the wear or damage of the gear or the drive itself. So that means usually if you have on the motor a gear inside and this start to get old or this start to get damaged, in that case the vibrations in that system's getting higher. And what we can do with this option board inside of our rotary encoder is that we can set some limits, and if the limits are reached, then our system or our sensor send automatically an error message to the PLC. And this is also, let's say, a predictive maintenance, because we can set the limits to a point when we say, okay, this goes into a danger direction, but the system is still working. So that means we can plan a maintenance and save the downtime of the machine itself. So you see that adds a lot of flexibilities. And the good thing is, if we need in your application, for example, a new function, then we just have to develop that functional, extension board, and not the whole encoder from the ground up. So that means the time to market is faster, and the costs for them are also for sure lower than if we would make a 100% customized solution. So at the end, what can we say? How can Siko and Isotron help you to get more out of your system, to get more out of your sensors? The first thing which we can say is that we have sensor specialists with a lot of safety know-how. So that means if you have some safety requirements, that's the first point where the colleagues from Isotron or we from Siko can help you directly with it. Because we have that sensor solutions, and as I said at the beginning, we have from all of our sensor solutions also a functional safety version. Then the point is, we have years of experience in mobile machines. And if we talk about years, then we're talking about 30 years. So that means our company is over 50 years old, but we are active in the mobile business or in mobile machine applications since over 30 years. So that means we have a lot of experience in that business, which we can share with you, and sometimes maybe can give you also some ideas for new functions over our sensors. And what we also could do is we can make customer-specific solutions based on your requirements. So that means you saw we have a sensor technology platform, which we call PURE.MOBILE. And with that platform, we have the possibilities to make also some additional functions or to make some customer-specific sensors to meet 100% your requirements. And I think that's one of our major benefits. And all of the time when we talk about our products, then with the 100% focus on the mobile machines. And the last but not least, we also have integration support over our what we call service and solution centers. So that means that's a team which is based in Germany in our headquarters, which also supports the colleagues from Isotron. So together with Siko and Isotron, we can support you in the integration phase and also in the after sales phase over our service and solution centers. So you see, we are not only a component suppliers, we understand us as a system or a solution supplier. So at the end, again, the PURE.MOBILE technology from our point of view adds more flexibilities and give you greater flexibilities and more function for your system. And now we are on the end of my presentation, and I'm really interested if you have any kind of questions to that.
Okay, thank you, Matthias. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. It makes me, it's also for me very clear now. And what you see, there's more and more flexibility today, and also with help of the DIP, the DIP boards you show us. With help of the applications, I think it makes more clear for everybody. And what you see as well, there's a lot of data today. And for example, the predictive maintenance application is also nice to see. And data is what I say always the new oil in the world.
That's right.
Yeah, everywhere you can find data, and it's nice to see how you combine what you can do with the data with help of your products. There are a few questions, and some of them I have to translate to English for you. The first one is, where can I find the regulations for a specific vehicle, for example, a forklift? So where can I find the regulations?
Yeah, in the European Union, we have three stages of regulations, but two are the most important. We have what we call the B standards. This is the so-called standard for machinery safety. For example, the EN 13849. This is the typically kind of machine standard which we have in Europe. And based on this standard, we have also what we call the C standard. So that means that's a lower level, which is a specific safety standard for an existing machine type. And now we have to divide it a little bit. For example, for the mobile cranes, we have a specific C standard, that's the EN 13000. So that means if I have for my machine type an C standard, in that case, I have to use it. But there are also some machines, for example, some really specific kind of machines which do not have a high market, or some new type of machines which do not have a C standard. In that case, I have to follow in my machine design the B standard. So that means the EN 13849, for example. How do you find your the right safety specification, or the right safety requirements? Usually, we have in the European Union, we have in each country a specific kind of dealer which deals with that specific safety standards. In Germany, it's the Beuth Verlag, so that means that's a specific kind of German government which are more or less a facility which is able to sell you this kind of standards. And if you call these guys and ask, okay, I have a machine which, for example, for the forklift industries, do you have a specific safety standard for that? Then they can tell you which is the right one. For example, for the forklift industry, there is one standard which we know quite well. This is the EN 1175. That's a specific kind of safety standards for the forklift industry. But as I said, there are hundreds of different kind of C norms. So the best way from my point of view is if you go to your local facility or to your local government, which can, let's say, be the best partner to share that information with you. In applications which we are already in, so like the mobile cranes, also the forklifts or the lorry cranes, for example, there we also have some experience for sure. But from our point of view, the best way is to go to the specific government facilities to get that.
Okay, thank you for this answer for this question. The second one is about the safety system. Yeah, okay. If I want to have a PLD safe system, can I use CanOpen, or must it be a special Can safety bus?
You can use CanOpen. That's definitely true. But you need to make, let's say, a little bit more work on your side. So if we want to reach the PLD with CanOpen sensors, in that case, we use a sensor which have a category 3 design. So that means we have a full redundancy, and we send the position values over 2 separated node IDs. So that means out of one encoder, you have 2 node IDs which send the same position, or let's say which send the same kind of position value, and you have to make in your PLC a cross-reference of it. So that means I got the safety position 1, I get the safety position 2, and then I have to make the cross-reference if they are in the tolerance area. The point between CanOpen and CanOpen Safety is CanOpen Safety side, I need to make a checksum calculation. This is integrated in all of our safety sensors. On the CanOpen Safety and on this specific interface, there you have the same, but the difference between Can and CanOpen Safety is that you get all the time the same value in a second message, which is bit inverted. So that means the CanOpen Safety take the most focus on, let's say, the way between the sensor and the PLC, so the communication way, that there is no interference on that line. Yeah. But over the CRC checksums, which we integrated into our CAN standard sensor, so that in the redundant CAN sensors, you also could reach the PLD.
Okay. Clear? And then last question. Yes, okay. Can Siko help us to test our machine if it is PLD ready or certified?
The certification itself, for sure, we cannot do the certification. But what we could do is, if you have a safety concept for a specific application where you need a position sensors, let's make the example with the outrigger system, which we see on the beginning. Then we can say, okay, let's talk about the safety concept behind that function. And this is where we really can give you a support. So that means beside our sensors, sometimes you have to do more additional work into your software. And this is where we can help you to work it out, that it will reach the requirements for the functional safety. So for example, on the outrigger system, if you use a wire encoder, there are two dangerous situations. This is if the wire is broken or if the wire is stacked. And for this stack position, which the sensor itself cannot detect, we can help you to, let's say, make the safety concept to reach that performance level together in combination with your PLC and our sensor. So this is where we can help, but we cannot make the full certification of the machine for sure.
Okay, clear. Yeah. No, I see there's coming in one more question. It's about PLD. Can you make a remote control PLD? I don't understand exactly this question, but maybe you understand it. Can you make a remote control PLD?
Yeah, that's a bit of a thing. The remote control PLD over, let's say, remote controller, for example, this is something which we are not in. Or do the customer mean that they would like to make, let's say, something like an autonomous vehicle with PLD?
Good question. We have to ask him as well, of course. Maybe he can give an answer to that.
No, I think the question is meant that if you're using a controller, how can you be sure that your remote controller is also PLD certified using it?
The remote controller, this is nothing which we are in. So for example, there are some radio frequency controllers or something like that. This is nothing where Siko is active in. There are some possibilities to make, let's say, a wireless communication safe or to bring it on a certain level. The most of the time, this is necessary to take care about the communication in between and about some safety functions or some let's say, safety software stacks which have to take care that the communication was 100% clear. But as I already said, we are not in the radio remote control or in kind of remote control. So this is not our major topic in that, unfortunately.
First of all, thanks again, Matthias, for your clear presentation. It's hard now to visit customers, but we are very open to answer your questions. And also, we would certainly like to make an appointment with you. Even if it's not possible to meet you in person, it's also possible to make a special appointment via digital way, Skype, or all the other things we have, WebEx. And I know Matthias is also willing to be on this meeting. So if you have special questions and we can go through some special things that are special for you as a customer needed or questions, we can make this digital conference, and we can go directly into your needs. And we are very willing to do that, of course. So that's an option we have during this corona crisis.
Ja, ik wil graag iedereen bedanken voor het deelnemen aan dit webinar. Kijk op onze website voor de volgende webinars die gaan komen. Heeft u vragen, uiteraard vraag het aan uw Isotron contactpersoon of stuur ons een e-mailtje. En dan wil ik bij deze het webinar afsluiten en nogmaals iedereen bedanken voor het volgen van dit webinar. En tot de volgende keer en stay safe. Dank u wel voor uw aandacht.